Osama bin Laden, known for his infamous role in world history, was born on March 10, 1957. The exact location of his birth has been a subject of debate for years, with initial reports suggesting he was born in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, but it's now widely accepted that he was actually born in Riyadh, the capital. His father, Mohammed bin Awad bin Laden, was born in Yemen in 1908. He migrated to the western Arabian coast, which was then contested between the Ottoman Empire and the Saudi royal family. By the 1930s, Mohammed had become a successful construction contractor, eventually founding the Saudi bin Laden Group, which became one of the largest and wealthiest construction firms in Saudi Arabia. This company had a close connection with the Saudi royal family, securing key contracts, including the renovation of important religious sites in Mecca and Medina. Osama's mother, Hamida al-Attas, was a Syrian from a family involved in citrus farming in Latakia. She married Mohammed bin Laden in 1956 when she was just 14 years old, and Osama was born a year later. However, their relationship ended shortly afterward, leading to speculation that they may not have actually married. After the divorce, Hamida remarried Mohammed al-Attas, a business associate of her former husband, and Osama lived with them, growing up alongside his half-siblings. Despite the separation, Osama maintained a relationship with his father, who greatly influenced his religious and ideological development. Osama's upbringing was marked by privilege. By the time of his birth, his father had amassed significant wealth, estimated in the billions when adjusted for inflation. After the divorce, Osama was raised by his mother and stepfather in Jeddah, where he attended the Al-Thagr Model School starting in 1968. In 1971, he briefly studied at Oxford University, where he took an English language course. Osama's early years also included typical interests, such as football, where he supported Arsenal, and an interest in military history. Despite his privileged background, Osama's life was deeply intertwined with the global political landscape of the time. His father's company, the Saudi bin Laden Group, was pivotal in the economic rise of Saudi Arabia in the mid-20th century. It played a significant role in the country's infrastructure, including the rebuilding of the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem and other projects tied to Islamic heritage. However, the company's wealth and political ties could not protect Mohammed bin Laden from tragedy. In 1967, he died in a plane crash in Saudi Arabia, and his sons took over the management of the family business. After his father's death, Osama continued his education, entering King Abdulaziz University in Jeddah in 1976. Though initially pursuing a degree in economics and business, Osama's interests shifted toward religion, poetry, and Arab literature. His family wealth, estimated at $30 million, meant that financial concerns were not a motivating factor in his life. In 1974, at 17, he married his first wife, Najwa Ghanem, a Syrian woman, and his first cousin, marking the beginning of a family that would eventually include more than 24 children. The late 1970s were formative years for Osama, both in terms of his ideological development and his immersion in global political events. During this period, he developed a pan-Islamist ideology, advocating for the unity of Muslims worldwide and a return to the values of the early Islamic caliphates. A central tenet of his beliefs was the rejection of Western influence in the Middle East, particularly in light of the ongoing conflicts between Israel and its Muslim neighbors, such as the Six-Day War of 1967 and the Yom Kippur War of 1973. His thoughts were heavily influenced by the writings of Sayyid Qutb, an Egyptian intellectual whose ideas on jihad and anti-Western sentiment became foundational to bin Laden's views. In 1979, as Osama completed his studies, the geopolitical situation in the Muslim world reached a boiling point. The Iranian Revolution of 1978 saw the overthrow of the Shah and the establishment of an Islamic Republic under Ayatollah Khomeini. Meanwhile, the Marxist People's Democratic Party of Afghanistan, PDPA, seized power and began aligning with the Soviet Union, leading to the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan in 2008, December 1979. Osama bin Laden, by then a supporter of the jihadist cause, left Saudi Arabia and traveled to Pakistan, where he became involved in supporting the Afghan Mujahideen, who were fighting against the Soviet occupation. In Pakistan, he met Abdullah Azam, a prominent Palestinian jihadist, and together they established Maktab al-Khidamat in 1984, an organization aimed at recruiting and training fighters for the Afghan jihad. With financial support from his inherited wealth, Osama played a key role in organizing the Mujahideen, training them, and coordinating logistics for their efforts in Afghanistan. The Soviet-Afghan War of the 1980s was a defining conflict in Osama's life, where he became known as a significant figure among the fighters, and his network grew exponentially. The war, which lasted from 1979 to 1989, would lead to the eventual collapse of the Soviet-backed Afghan regime and contribute to the rise of the Taliban in the 1990s. Bin Laden's role in the Mujahideen network earned him widespread respect, and the battle at Jaji in 1987, which he participated in, further solidified his reputation as a leader in the jihadist cause. Following the Soviet withdrawal, Osama returned to Saudi Arabia, where he was hailed as a hero. However, tensions began to grow between him and the Saudi government over their relationship with the United States, particularly after the Gulf War in 1990, which saw U.S. forces stationed in Saudi Arabia. This ideological rift would lead to bin Laden's eventual expulsion from Saudi Arabia and his relocation to Sudan in 1991. In Sudan, bin Laden continued to build his network, eventually founding al-Qaeda in 1988, a more formalized jihadist organization. Al-Qaeda's mission was clear: to wage a global jihad against non-Muslim nations, particularly the United States, and to establish a rigid form of Islamic rule based on Sharia law by the early 1990s. Bin Laden's views and actions had firmly positioned him as a key figure in the global jihadist movement, which would culminate in the tragic events of September 11, 2001.